I am gonna have to record with it on that side because I have to plug in my phone just in case, because it's being stupid lately. Anyway, with that said, I actually have a really nice mic, whatever, for videos and stuff, but my computer's like old, so the video would be awful, but the sound would be better. I would imagine that it would actually drown out some of these fucking cats in the background, but some days I just can't help it. Laugh about it, because, I mean, what am I going to do? And sure, many people would say, just close the door. That does not work, by the way. Close the door, they make more sounds. If you leave the room, they still follow you. And so it's the story of my life. I signed up for this. And yeah, so while I was putting on a little bit of makeup today, just to feel normal, decent, pretty, because that used to be my thing that I did all the time, I realized that the kids knocked off my solar plexus large singing bowl that was like expensive. And so began my day, and then in front of me, Charles peed on a box. So some days you really just have to laugh about it. I mean, I can't do anything else about that. So I think I am going to attempt to edit out some of the throat clearing stuff because it's really annoying to me. And yeah, so that's where we're going to be. Just good. I am trying the new Polar seltzer. I'm usually normally a regular water kind of drinker, but when I went to Tucson, I was staying with a friend in Phoenix, and she actually got me into the seltzer waters, and I've been addicted since. And for a while, they were my way of having sweets without having sweets, you know, so it was easier for me. But then I went apeshit crazy the last few months, and I've gained weight, so wait, we're not going to talk about that. But these were on sale because I be a broke bee lately, and so I'm trying them out. And this one's a cranberry lime, and I actually like it. And no, I haven't eaten today, so I might be a little shaky. So that's where we're at in this moment. Right meow. All right, so I don't know if I should really be closer to the camera or take my glasses off. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll take my glasses off so that you can actually see my eye. This doesn't see me talking, and not get a glare. I don't know why I'm messing with my eye like I have a contact in it. I don't. No contact here. I was just doing something a little different, and I actually did the blue on the inside of my eye, and then I liked it, so I spread it around. You know, I also said I was not going to edit these videos, so it is possible I may not edit this thing at all, and you're just going to have to deal with my shit. So, first things first, I want to do two things. So this video, now I'm going to fucking tell you within like 7 minutes in or something. So this video is going to be about Thursday's color. So I know I didn't start on a Monday, so I really want to talk about color therapy, a little bit. I know I've dabbled in it a little bit, but today we're going to talk about Thursday. And I'm kind of wearing the wrong colors for a Thursday, honestly. Not kind of, I am. I actually wear an orange shirt. That is an ex's business shirt, but I like the color. It's like road crew orange. I'm sorry, I have to burp. We're just dabbling in all the things today. Anyway, with that said, I didn't want to wear it on here because I'm not promoting that person's business. So, this is what we got today. So yeah, there's actually two things I want to do before we get started. Like I said, we're going to talk about Thursday, and Thursday is, okay, we're going to talk about it in a minute. I want to do two things. I want to pull a chakra card from a chakra deck that I do have. I do have a few left in stock. It's by Kaleidodope. It's Crystal Banner. I actually really like this small deck. It's a really cute deck to work with if you are on the move, or if you're just trying to get in connection or start to connect with how colors make you feel and the senses that come with that. And what I'm trying to say with that, what I mean by that is in Ayurvedic medicine, and I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit already, Ayurvedic medicine is based on the senses. So if you think about thousands of years ago, what did they have to base illness on, and how self-care and things like that? It was their senses. And so color therapy is part of that, and you'll see like jewels and crystals and things like that, and how they chose to put certain colors and rings on their fingers and crystals and things like that. It's all based on their senses or their observation of how each one of their fingers were connected to their spine and the veins and nerves are linked to each other, etc., etc. Okay, we're not going to go into the details of that, but generally speaking, that's where color therapy and crystals and all of that stuff comes from. The senses, it's all really basic, so basic that most people today wouldn't think about it. Kind of reminds me of that. How do you pull an elephant? How do you put an elephant in a refrigerator? Well, you take the giraffe out. You know, childhood things, that the way kids think, which is very literal and basic. And we're used to the medical model, and I think I've talked about this before. So it's really simple like that. And in order to kind of get in touch with that without knowing the details behind it and going significantly into studying about it, is just starting to get in touch with your senses. And this is going to be throughout the videos. Just get used to that. So with that said, if you follow me on any of the other channels or anywhere else, Facebook or Instagram, then, or even if you've met me here, you'll know that I'm all about trying to teach you how to get in, how to reconnect to your senses. And that's not what I wanted to say. I'm all about learning to listen to your gut, basically your instincts. And that is getting in touch with your natural senses of things. And how you do that, and how I actually help clients a lot since I myself got into crystals and colors and stuff like that, was through crystals and listening to their own intuition, is getting past the superficial side and listening deeper to their senses. And that's part of Ayurvedic medicine as well. I didn't know that until I got into Ayurvedic medicine, and I understood why I loved it so much. Was because I'm all about listening to a deeper sense of yourself, and that is very spiritual in nature, and it comes from expanding your consciousness, which all interconnects. With that said, 10 or 20 minutes later, This deck is a really great deck. There's a tree of life on the front, okay? It's a really great deck. It's a bunch of different colors, and then they give you, I don't remember what the numbers are for, honestly. I don't remember. I'll have to look that up. If you're curious, sound off below and ask me, and I'll tell you again because I don't remember. But it does have a word that is in relation to the colors, and it's kind of, because it's a chakra deck, it's to help you get in connection with where the colors are connected to the chakras along your spine. Did I say that right? Colors in connection to the chakras, whatever. So that wasn't me. Oh, it was Oscar. Story of my life. So we're gonna pull a color, and then I really want to pull a spirit guide, a spirit card. So this is my favorite deck. If you know Stephen Farmer, even though it's not the prettiest of decks to me because it's a brown box and I'm not really drawn to that, there are more beautiful spirit decks, spirit cards. But I bought 3 different ones for a class I was in my Mind, Body, Medicine program, and I immediately was drawn to this deck, which on the surface I wouldn't think that I would be, and I fell in love with it. So we're gonna pull one of these. We're gonna pull one of these. And we're going to talk about Thursday's crystals. So a bunch of different things we're going to talk about all in one. But I want to get us started with the decks, because that's fun, right? While Oscar is sitting here staring and sitting behind the crystals and making me a little nervous. Okay, a little bit nervous. So what is the color for today? And so how I would recommend, if you're going to work with cards of any kind, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can shuffle however you want. I can't really shuffle this really small deck very well, so I'm just kind of do until you feel like you should stop. Sometimes I'll even get the deck and I'll pull, like, you'll think maybe it would be the first one, but something else jumps out. Go with the first instinct behind it, like, okay, this card, but then something in you says maybe this other one. And so go with that, okay? Don't ignore that, right? You know how you second guess yourself sometimes? You'd be like, oh, this is what I want. No. And you'd be like, no, I chose this one first. But if that something else jumped out, grab it. So today's card is green, even though we're doing Thursday. Green, and it is 12-4, means compassion. I am going to look at the numbers, not right now, but I will put it in the box below and figure out what the fuck that means. 12-4, compassion. So compassion is very much connected to green, and green is a heart chakra color for the most part. So compassion and heart chakra, he's staring at me, are very much connected. So think about that whenever you see greens, how that makes you feel, where that comes from, notice it in your body, and kind of go with that. And that's all I'm going to give you with that for today. But I really love this deck. It's great. Hope that helps a little bit. All right, onward. So let's talk about, while I shuffle this, let's talk about Thursdays. So I'm still dabbling in, I've always loved astrology, but I've recently been learning that there are more and more in-depth details about astrology than what we think. So over the last couple of years, I've learned that, because I always felt like if I just said, because I'm a Taurus, I always said that I'm a Taurus. I was like, a lot of it doesn't really fit. I've grown from that. So it's not really me. And if you've ever read like your daily reading and does it fit? There's multiple reasons for that. So if you go in and you think about sun, moon, and rising, it really does make a big difference. And especially with my psychological or my psychology and counseling background, it makes a hell of a lot more sense when you do sun, moon, and rising. and it goes hand in hand with psychology, and we can talk about that another day. Anyway, with that said, if you look at the connections to the stars and Vedic astrology, so Ayurvedic, it's very similar in nature because it's connected. It is ancient astrology. Make sense? They believed that Thursdays were connected to Jupiter. And Jupiter's colors are yellow and orange. And oops, it happens. Are you okay, buddy? You have a booger. I'm sorry. So they're connected to yellow and orange. And interesting enough, that has a lot to do with luck and abundance, which in many ways is usually connected to more greens, like for money and finances, but that is not the case in this situation. And so for yellows and oranges, you'll notice those are mostly connected to the solar plexus, yellows mostly, but some oranges, and the sacral chakra, which is orange, and can be some yellows as well. Fun fact, if you speak to anybody in Brazil or get crystals from Brazil, a lot of times they will call what we know to be orange calcite is actually yellow calcite to them. But fun fact, calcite, just normal calcite, is actually yellow in nature. But anyway, with that said, those colors are connected to confidence, happiness and spirituality, and you can say that for many different colors, but for the most part, when you are around orange or yellows, what do you feel? Joyous, happy? Think about those things. Do they make you think of the sun? And how does the sun make you feel? Energized? I mean, typically the sun does make you feel energized, or it should, except for in this hot ass weather up to 108 degrees. We'll just ignore that. The sun gives us energy, vitamin D, things like that. And so when you think about that, it's usually happy and energized and confidence and all of those things, right? Abundance of happiness and confidence and all of that stuff, right? So in Ayurvedic medicine, they would highly recommend to also fill your home with sunflowers or dandelions or anything of that nature in your home, especially on Thursdays, because it is ruled by Jupiter. And I think it's quite interesting because Thursdays are really my best days of the week, I believe, because I feel the most confident. I see clients and do the best work around that time, I believe. And so I really love Thursdays. It's like a thing I like. Sorry. Oh my God. He's just staring at me. So anyway, so with that said, that's what you would want to do on Thursdays, is fill your home with bright colors on that spectrum. With that said, in Ayurvedic medicine, they also highly recommend that topaz, which is typically found to be a yellowish or imperial topaz. I have some in the store, in the shop. I don't think I have them posted just yet, sadly. I am going to be working on that this week. So yellow topaz, imperial topaz, which is fairly rare. It's an orangish color. Those are colors that you can wear, and you're supposed to be wearing them on your index finger. You can use yellow sapphire. You need to be really, really careful with topazes as well. There is a kitty in the window. Topazes can be dyed or enhanced. I'm not against having them enhanced by any means, but some people believe that having any kind of things enhanced changes their structure, changes their energy, and that's just up to you. I find that I am more drawn to heat-treated amethyst, which is also trickery. They try to trick you for citrine, clusters of citrine, and that's not it. It's heat-treated amethyst. But I find that like the more gray amethysts that are treated and often sold as citrine, I'm drawn to those more than I'm drawn to amethyst lately, which is weird. So you get a mix, and to me it feels like a mix of you know, like citrine-like energy, which is usually found in the solar and the sacral chakras. So think about those colors interchangeably in some form, and amethyst. So it is like third eye, but confident and happy and light. Now I used to be obsessed with purple, if anybody knows any of that. I still love it dearly, but I think I overdid it when I was younger, a lot. I'll have to find some photo. Everything I owned, I'm not even joking, was purple, and it was a lot. So it was only about maybe 6 or 7 years ago I started getting more into greens, and it's interesting enough, I actually have noticed a shift in my being and my love of colors in my life based on chakras, and that's something that I offer to do color and crystal readings and evaluations of you if you want to see how it's changed throughout your life and how it's affected you, or how you may have instinctively changed your favorite colors in some way, and how that rules your life. If you're interested in that, let me know, reach out, and I can go over that stuff with you. You can see how your life has changed and shifted. So I have been always wanting love of my family and all of that stuff my entire life, but life didn't just hand it to me like I wanted it when I wanted it, per the usual, right? So I was always focused on third eye and crown chakra stuff for the majority of my life, growing and understanding and trying to gain that deeper understanding of life in general and myself. And I came to a point where I still love learning, but I came to a point where I was kind of done with it, I guess. I'm never done, but I don't know, my being shifted, and I actually got closer to my family. I've been so much closer to them over the last 6 or 7 years now, and green has been like my go-to color, which is heart chakra. So funny how that works. But there's more on that, and we'll talk about that later. So with that being said, I am skipping this until the end, actually. So we're gonna go ahead and keep talking about everything else, and we'll end with that. So yeah, topaz, yellow sapphire, those things to wear on your index finger for the day. Now there's a lot of things, if you go back and look at what finger you should be wearing your rings on and how Ayurvedic medicine says all that, a lot of those stuff and those beliefs when it comes to the nerves didn't actually pan out medically. It's just based on their observations. So they do not actually mix and match. I'm sorry, they do not actually match medical, the medical mapping. But if you look further into the channels, and what are they called? Oh my God, I just went blank. There's more details into Ayurvedic medicine that have to do with the channels in our body and how they're interconnected. That has nothing to do with medical model of medicine. So if you are trying to connect like the rings and where to all of those things, they do not match. They do match with the view of how the body works in Ayurvedic medicine. Again, that is some major serious study stuff. And though I'm trained in Ayurvedic medicine, a lot of that part is medical stuff. So just like how a medical doctor would learn more details about the body, this is more stuff of the interconnection of what a medical practitioner in Ayurvedic medicine would know. And I struggled to do connection. Like, we went into diagnosing of this part of the stuff, and I wasn't that far. My training is not that far. I couldn't wrap my mind around it in details, but I get it. I just, I'm not that further educated in it. I don't know where my words are. Just follow me. You know what I'm trying to say, right? I sure hope so. With that being said, so we're going to talk about The crystals that go with this day, Thursday, we're talking about Thursday, are crystals usually connected with yellow and orange, which are the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. If you think about the sacral chakra, it has a lot to do with sexual energy and confidence in that way. Solar plexus is more like motivation and confidence in that way. It's a little bit different externally, and then internally, and intimacy is more sacral chakra. But we're not going into all that. So let's talk about the crystals that I highly recommend that you could grab and wear today on the Thursdays. I am wearing mine. I did throw in some other ones that I do like. As a general rule, and this is not an absolute rule, as I've had people complain about it before, stick with colors, going with color therapy, not necessarily what you read in a book, okay? Now, I'm not saying that the crystal books or the crystal Bibles are incorrect. A lot of times they are connected to exactly how I feel. So go with your senses first rather than looking something up in a book. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you may not connect to a specific crystal. This is amber. I absolutely adore amber. This one is specifically from Mexico. Let's see if I can get it to, yeah. I love amber. I'm obsessed with it. And I usually wear my amber all the time. Lately, I've got a little chunky, okay? And I wash my hands a lot because of all the bajillions of cats I take care of right now. So I haven't always been wearing my my bracelets. So with that said, I highly recommend amber for all types of reasons and for all occasions. It's great for grounding, and I'm always feeling more confident and empowered when I do wear my amber, especially on the days that I have a lot of anxiety or stressors going on. I reach for amber. So the best thing you can do, wearing necklaces and things like that are great, don't get me wrong, but the best thing is to have it either touching your skin, or if you're wearing a ring, it needs to be open on the bottom. Generally speaking, for Ayurvedic medicine, you need to have it where it will be, what is the word I'm looking for? The energy can directly be connected to you. Even if it's not touching you, it needs to be open on the bottom so that the energy can connect to you directly, to your skin in some way. That's the general gist of it. So again, amber is really good for this day. Wear it, mix it. Some people will advise against mixing things, and I've spoken about this before, but I'm not against mixing energies. Now, some people will say mixing certain things are not a good thing. I look at it this way. I look at it like, if you're going to mix energies, think about how strong of a, rooted, this is very grounding. And grounding is usually connected more to the root chakra, but sacral is very close to that, but it's also energizing. And if you have ever held amber, or you have it, it's very light so it's very, very light. It's a light, grounding, motivational crystal. And for the general gist of things, when I think about all the things sacral chakra and solar plexus, they're generally lighter crystals. And so if you want confidence and happiness and motivation and things like that, you don't want to be weighed down. So again, this is talking about the senses and how to connect to those things. If you want to be motivated, you definitely don't want to be weighed down. Think about things that are red and black. Typically, they're heavy. If things that are orange and yellow are typically not so heavy. They're usually light in some way. So that helps with motivation, like getting moving, you know what I'm saying? So if you're having anxiety, so anxiety in a sense way is up here. It's like You're like everywhere. You're like light. Same thing with like ADHD and things like that. You're typically up here, like you're go, 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 go. You want things that will weigh you down. But that's not the case with confidence and motivation, things like that. So if you think about with depression typically can weigh you down. And so you want things surrounded around you that will pick you up. They're the light. It's the same thing with foods. If you feel depressed, don't eat heavy foods. If you feel super anxious and hyper, don't eat light foods, eat heavier foods. That's how Ayurvedic medicine works. Super basic. So all of these things coincide and they interconnect. So when it comes to colors, think about how colors make you feel, what they're connected to, and that's what you want to do. So if it's talking about mixing different things, if you want motivation and you want to be grounded, but you don't want to be heavy, then I would go with amber. He almost fell over and he was just walking a straight line. Sorry, I got distracted. So you want to go with something like amber. It's light, it does ground you, it's very centering, but it's motivating and confident. You could combine this with just about anything, but I like to use amber for grounding and centering myself when I don't want to weigh myself down more. If I'm depressed, but I'm anxious, so you have both worlds, I would go with something like amber because it's great for doing that without being overly heavy in that manner, if that makes sense. I think my makeup looks kind of crazy from far away, but cool up front. I don't know what. Whatever. Squirrel. I'm not wearing enough heavy crystals today, obviously, because I'm a little, with that said. So yeah, I would pair certain crystals in a way. So let me put it this way. If you are super anxious, I would like triple up on heavier crystals. If you really want motivation and want to get going, and that's probably what's going on with me, I'm wearing a lot of light, happier crystals, lighter colors. So I did throw in some crazy lace, which is a little bit heavier. The agates can tend to be a little bit heavier in nature. So I threw in some crazy lace today that is more orange. It does have a couple of reds in here, so grounding a little bit. And so that was helpful. And I'm wearing Bumblebee with some dark colors. Generally speaking, Bumblebee Jasper is, it's in the same realm of those things, right? So we're looking at the Bumblebee Jasper. It's not very heavy, but darker colors tend to be heavier, as we said. So I like to mix the colors like that. So even though Bumblebee Jasper is not a heavier crystal, super heavy, root chakra, it's not like that. The colors do help to balance that out in my head. Okay, so this is all my work. This is one of Bumblebee Jasper I really like, one of the palms I have. I even have some that I have personally tumbled. Highly recommend. I do have a couple of those. They didn't shine off really good. They're matte and I love them like that. So but you have to be careful if you're going to keep some of the matte colors or any of the tumbles. If you've gotten any of the home tumbled from me, you definitely need to wash your hands afterwards because these are not shined and locked in. You're touching sulfur. So you need to wash your hands afterwards. Just FYI. It's not bad. You just need to go wash your hands. So with that said, I would go with something like that. Bumblebee Jasper is really great. I really love it. I love the blacks in it when you find it as well. It's just really great crystal in my opinion. It's very expensive. I do have a couple of bracelets still in the shop. They are all on the website. So feel free to go on over there and snag a couple. Next up is Golden Healer. Golden Healers are really great. They call them Golden Healers because of the iron in it, and typically iron is really good. Iron included crystals are really good for healing. and that's why they call them golden healers. They're just wonderful. They're just very wonderful crystals. This is a flame from Brazil. I do have one flame for sale. I don't think I have it on the website yet, but it's quite large, and they are pricey when they come from Brazil. I really love them. And I will say that if you don't love golden healers now and you're just getting into crystals, I used to think when people said that there are certain crystals for you when you start out, don't get certain other things, I wasn't drawn to them because I have another golden healer that I did. It's a free form that I did get, but it's more brown, the brown iron, and I wasn't really drawn to those until I got one of them. And that took me a while to really, I still don't spend a lot of time with it, but I'm more into the brighter colors of the golden healers. I do like those, but that came with time. So I can't say that it's a recommendation, but I don't think it's a starter crystal because I don't know a lot of people that are initially drawn to it. I think it comes with time. The appreciation for it really comes with time, I believe. But it's hard not to love these smaller little, I have a couple of these left, and the stars, these golden healer moons and stars. I love these excellent pocket pieces and to carry with and to work on healing. And I just realized this one's chipped. Very upsetting. Can you see that? It's very upsetting. And I love this. It's all right. We love some broken crystals around here. Next, we're going to talk about orange calcite, which is what I said earlier. This is my first piece of orange calcite that I had, well, my first tower of orange calcite that I got. It's actually more orange in person, and I love it. Paid way too much for it. I do have several obelisks in the shop still if you would like to have them. They're great to have in the room whenever you're trying confidence, things like that. Highly recommend them. Highly recommend orange calcite in that manner. But again, Brazil will call this yellow calcite. So you can tell a difference because their version of orange calcite is a dark orange. I'm not a huge fan. And I don't have any tumbles, but this is one that I got a long time ago before I opened up my own shop, and I adore it. It's very transparent, and I love transparent crystals. That's just me. I also love a good pocket piece. Carry it with you and twiddle it when you need to. So also very great. Another one is heulandite. It's Heulandite. Heulandite is a type of zoisite. I got these are they from Brazil? It's been so long now. Mexico, Brazil, one of those. It is more like a peachy color, and they stick up, a little pokey there. I do have a couple more pieces in the shop. One looks like a sweet potato. They're very popular. They're very interesting too. Zoisites are really interesting pieces, but really soft energy here. They do not photograph very well, I don't believe, but they're really beautiful in person, and I highly recommend them as well if you're looking for motivation and confidence in that manner. You can grab you some zoisite, and they're not super fragile, but if you do struggle with anxiety, I'm very much a believer of textile. So the touch, it actually is very grounding. So if you needed something rough in that manner, this would be really helpful. Again, it's another reason why I'm not hugely against a broken crystal. Texture like that will ground you instantly. That's why I always give people recommendations of sitting. When you're sitting, pay attention to how the seat feels on your butt or how your feet feel on the ground. And if you can't do that, then literally touch something, and if it has texture, it focuses you on the moment, grounds you, and centers you right here and now instead of getting lost up in there. Okay. Lastly, on the list here, I wanted to talk to you about butter jasper. butter jasper. It's actually really gorgeous, but it also depends on where you get it from around the world. And I was really desperately trying to figure out where I got my first piece of butter jasper, which is this one, and I still absolutely adore it. This heart, I got it from another shop. This is before I opened up my own, and I absolutely love it. This color on the screen, I guess because it's about to rain and I'm losing my light, which is typical. This shit happens to me all the time, so just bear with me. If I come closer, can you see me better? It's a little bit more of a orangey color in person than it is on the screen, and I love it. It's so 3D. I don't know how to explain how I feel about this piece, and I just adore it so much. But it is very different. I forgot where it's from in the world, but it's very different than this butter jasper from South Africa that is hand carved, and it's a little bit different. But I also love this color too. It's got like a green twinge tint to it, and it looks like it has some dendrites. Pay attention, focus over here. But hand carved. I only have one more LE left, and it's in a Vericite. It's a Vericite, which is like a Fuchsite. So from South Africa, this is another butter jasper. This is really wonderful to keep with you as well. So yeah, I highly recommend. Those are the colors and the different crystals that you could wear today. Again, I threw in crazy lace agate here, but not all of the crazy lace agate that people have is yellow or orange. So it's up to you. You can combine with whatever you want. If you are feeling anxious with all the confidence around you, let's say you overdid it. So going back to how much can you do? What can you mix? I look at it like the more yellow and oranges that you have, the more energy you have, right? That's how I see it. And combining with different crystals will either lower how much of it or how little you have in my head. So if it, now I'm not saying go walk around with a bunch of, orange and yellow crystals on you all day and wear all those colors. You may not, it might be too much. But I kind of look at it like balancing it out. So if you want confidence, you want happiness, you want all of those things, is a happy connection, and you have, let's say, two or three crystals on you that are in that vicinity, and now the sun is in a weird spot, so here we are. But let's say you feel too much is giving you anxiety, so it's like think of it like I'm visual, okay? So I think of it like I'm full up on this motivation that it's making me anxious. So I'm now up here. So how do you handle anxiety? You weigh yourself down. So you can grab reds or blacks, things that are heavier in nature. So you could wear, you could even go and do this literally, like you could wear boots for the day, heavier boots that literally weigh you down. That should help with your anxiety. So that's all an Ayurvedic technique, is using the senses to care for yourself. I hope my jumping around is not too much, and that this is actually helping. So that's how I handle it. If I still want all the motivation, but I'm feeling anxious with it, I kind of weigh myself down a little bit with something else. Or you can, back off the crystals if you want to. But that's up to you and how you feel with it. It's all about paying attention to your senses. Really, really, really paying attention to how it's making you feel. But yeah, that's my take on mixing and matching. So, and I'm not giving you exact specifics because you may not connect to a crystal I recommend. So I'm not telling you that. I'm saying go with specific colors. Go with how they make you feel. And again, this is just generally speaking. On Thursdays, I recommend yellows and oranges because those are connected to Jupiter and often connected to the solar plexus and sacral chakra. Again, not all orange and yellow crystals are connected to those. Right now, I couldn't even tell you what crazy lace agate is connected to. I don't know if it's either one of those. It couldn't be. It could not be. But my instinct told me to snag it because it mixed well with the colors in the balance. It just felt balanced between dark and light and some pop of colors. It felt right to me. And I have this knack for mixing colors in the right way. That works. So go with your instinct. Again, like I said, I don't even know if Crazy Lace is in that same ballpark, but it felt right and I'm going to go with it. Again, some people will literally tell you, that's not connected to the solar chakra or the sacral chakra, and it's definitely not a Jupiter. It doesn't have to be connected to Jupiter. I'm saying generally speaking, because a lot of different crystals that are matching in color are not matched to the planet. But I try to look at it like they're all interconnected in many different ways. So even if it's not connected to the planet, a lot of times they give off similar energy. How we feel, like I said, how we feel with yellows and oranges. How do you feel? So those can be very much connected to Jupiter energy, if that makes sense. And again, I'm still learning about the astrological side of that and what that means about Jupiter. I know Jupiter is really significant for me, and that's probably why Thursdays are really, really important and really, really great days in general for myself. And we can kind of explore that together at a later time if you'd like, but this is a very long video thus far, and I have something in my eye besides an eyeball. With that said, I am going to leave this here. It does also, for Jupiter, it also recommends Pitersite as one as well, but if you don't have Pitersite, that's fine. Typically what we know to be Pitersite is mostly blues, but actually the blue part of Pitersite is pretty rare. It's actually more browns and yellows than you would think. That's why a lot of people often get those mixed up with tiger's eye or blue tiger's eye. They look very similar in nature. So don't be scared to dabble in if you have some lower quality, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. If you have some lower quality Pitersite, which I know I've sold some really wonderfully, some really wonderful lower quality Pitersite that were beautiful, and they were more brown and golds. So you can also throw those on today too, and because if they're on the darker side, Pitersite team, in my experience, has been a little bit heavier, so it might be a really good crystal to pair with things. You might want to trade that out instead of Bumblebee or instead of Amber. Amber might be too light for you. If you have, let's say, if you're Vata Dasha, which if you're a Vata Dasha, typically you're a lighter person. So you might need to go towards the heavier crystals and stay away from amber. If you are Pitta, you definitely might want to stay away from some reds, because reds can weigh you down or make you feel hot. Obsidian might make you feel hot because it does attract, blacks attract heat. Definitely might want to stay away from the blacks if you're out in the sun. That sounds racist. Sorry. Colors. Sorry. Because they attract light. So if you are a Pitta Dasha, and Pitta Dasha, typically they run hot, you might want to stay away from dark colors. Grays could even be good in that area, or more reds. You might do well if you were looking for something to ground you, which is typically not necessary unless you're super hot, which happens for Pitta. They can get really hot easily. So I would go for lighter things for you. I would probably stick with possibly amber, but amber is also a warm, it's warm to the touch, so you might not want to do amber very much unless you're inside. If you're a Kapha Pitta, I would recommend amber for certain. We can tend to get really hot easily very, very sensitive to heat and swell, and so we get weighed down really easy by it. So I would pick more lighter colors, unless you needed to mix it in for different reasons. Like I did the hair, I chose a darker color to kind of weigh me down instead of being too overly energetic and happy. That's just how I am on Thursdays. So I need a little bit of balance, and I'm inside, so it's okay. These are all ways I'm telling you tips and tricks of how I figure what I need based on my body type, how I react on Thursdays. And I know Jupiter is significant for me. I also know I have anxiety. So these are all things to think about when you're choosing what works for you. But don't overthink it. Sometimes you can just go in there, and I say go in there, like go wherever your crystals are and choose something just based on your gut. That looks really cool. And just kind of go with that. But those are just some examples. And I hope that's helpful. So let's pull a card, because we're almost at the hour mark. Jesus, okay? Yeah, so let's pull a card. We're gonna pull a spiritual card. I'm not gonna go super detailed with these. And no, still doesn't feel right. Yeah, I talked a lot and I'm starting to get anxious, which makes me feel like I really need to stop now. And I hope you've listened to the whole thing through. If not, I understand. Whatever. Yeah. Not getting a good vibe right now yet. It's this one. So today's, oh, it's the front of the guidebook. It's the Falcon. So pulled the Falcon today. Ooh, aren't they beautiful? This card is so beautiful. So the Falcon says, act on the opportunity that's before you and commit to it without evocation. So let's look it up real quick and I'll tell you what that says in the guidebook. EF. EF, thank you. Okay. Providence is on your side, and the opportunity that has been presented to you is congruent with your soul's purpose. Even if you don't feel fully prepared or have doubts in your ability to manage the complexities that are inherent in tackling this venture, dive in anyway. You'll be pleasantly surprised by the support that will come to you in unexpected ways. All it takes is the willingness on your part to continue on a steady course wholeheartedly, while at the same time being open to changes in the direction that the winds are blowing. It's important to stay focused on the goal that's ahead of you, while also remaining mindful of the purpose of your mission. Commit to your mission 100% and fulfill that commitment to the best of your ability. This isn't a time for analysis, introspection, or retreat, but a time for action. As you respond to the opportunity that's before you, be willing to adjust your course of action as the need dictates, while at the same time moving steadily toward your goal. You can deal with whatever concerns come up without being distracted by them and without straying away from the path you're on. Okay, so before I tell you the associations, with that, generally speaking, this card sounds like it is a Thursday card. Why do I believe that? Because it's about taking action. It's about taking the opportunity to keep going with your soul's purpose, which is kind of funny because that's exactly where I'm at today, is backing away from all crystals to try to integrate my counseling side, my Ayurvedic training, and integrate that because I feel like my soul is really needing that. Crystals were my soul for a while, and they were a great venture after counseling because I needed a break from that. I've talked about that previously. But now I'm ready to move forward, and I've questioned, did I make the right choice? Now I'm telling you this because you can interpret for your life as you would like, but I know this is a card for me to pull today, so that's where my energy's been at, and it's Thursday. It's a Thursday. We're talking about Thursday. We're talking about motivation. We're talking about confidence. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about all of those positive things that I've questioned in my decisions in the past, and I know where I want to go with it. And then I've been really inspired to start doing these videos again, and also nervous about it. This card is kind of telling me you're headed in the right direction. Basically, commit to it 100%. Don't question it. You're on the right path. This is what you should be doing. Don't analyze it. Don't overthink it. Just fucking do it. That's pretty much what this card is about. Again, it's the Falcon, right? So the associations are speed, focus, agility, gracefulness, observation, vitality, enthusiasm, precision, adventurousness, passion, opportunity, perceptiveness, and fluidity. So just go with it, man. That's it. Just go with it. Go with it. Be perceptive about what's going on around you, but have enthusiasm about it, because this is life. This is the only life you get, the here and now. You can sit and dwell about the mistakes that you think you may have made in the past, but can you fucking change them? No, you can't change them. So we are stuck with them. So my recommendation is find the lessons that are to be learned from the decisions you have made, and live in today. Don't worry about the future, because you can't change it. Do what you can and live in the now, and find the happiness in what you're doing here today. And that's really what it's about. Not only for me today, but I don't know if that's where you're at. If you're watching this and you've made it this far, maybe that is where you're at. Maybe that's what you needed to hear in that moment. I have a tendency to do that for people. So I'm a big believer of, things happen, or you hear things when you need them the most. You stumble upon them when you need them the most. And so I truly, truly hope that these have helped. I know this is like a super long video, and I'm doing my best. I probably won't edit it now, so you're stuck with me. With that said, thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something from this. If you have questions, sound off below. Go on at it. If you want to keep hearing about these and you don't mind the length of them, the different card pulls, talking about little dabbles and examples of things here and there. I feel like I do better when I give examples during talking about it. I do jump around a little bit, but I try to bring it together in the end. And again, I hope this has been useful. Yeah, I hope you'll join me again, and I'm gonna do my best to keep on the series, but I want to know if you really like this, and we'll keep going with it. So it's a mix of a little bit of everything. And the cat shut the fuck up the whole time. It was great. Or if they didn't, I didn't notice. But yeah, let me know what your choice of stacks are. On Thursdays, are Thursdays energetic for you? Share a little bit about your thoughts on the crystals you choose. It could be a completely different choice. How oranges and yellows make you feel, and sound off below. So, bye y'all.